you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm good. Sophia Soto with the Nerds of Color. Love the little twinning moment. But thank you, first of all, so much for doing this. I really appreciate you taking the time to speak with me today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So, to start off, I want to talk about Gina because she has quickly become a comfort character for me. And I know so many of your fans and just fans of the show. And I'm curious, is there some sort of comfort that the character has brought you personally playing her?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Gina has been with me for my entire high school experience as a teenage girl. I started on High School Musical when I was 15, and we finished last season. I was 19, and so it's been 4 years of freshman to senior, being her, interacting with her, getting to know her, and I think she's brought me a lot of confidence because going into the first season, I've always been very shy and kind of meek, which is a surprise to a lot of people because a lot of people think that I'm very extroverted and outgoing, and actually I'm much more of an introvert naturally, and very much in my head a lot of the time. So having to be a character that is so overconfident, it it was like the type of fake it till you make it moment of I was learning how to be more like Gina as I was pretending to be her.
She's brought a lot of comfort, and I want to talk about the fans, which, by the way, I tweeted the most vague thing that I was interviewing you last week. My phone has not stopped because they are just so, they show up for you in a way that I have not seen. They love you. And I got to tweet finally. I was like, I am interviewing her. This is happening. And they were like freaking out yesterday. So I want to tell you, you have one of the best fan bases ever. But they love you. I say that sincerely. And I want to ask you, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to know that your work has impacted people this deeply, that they are ready to support you not only in this project, but on all your other work? I mean, they're so excited to see whatever you're doing.
Hmm. Oh, that's such a wonderful question. It means a lot more than I think they know.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's kind of hard for me to even fathom that there are people out there that I have never been able to meet or come into contact with who support me and encourage me so sincerely and genuinely, and passionately. And it makes me wish that I could duplicate myself and run around the world and meet everyone and go to different countries and just, I guess, really spread my gratitude for how people have supported me throughout my career so far, that have supported the show or me and my other castmates individually. It just, they're the reason that we're able to do what we do as actors and actresses. Um, so it means a lot, but it definitely is like something that I don't think about often because it's like I just go out in public and like I don't really notice it. Like people will be recognizing me or something, and my family will notice, and they'll go like, "Hey, like maybe let's go over here." And I'm like, "Why?" And like I don't really understand because I don't perceive myself in that way. But when it does come to my attention, when I do see a lot of support online or in person, it definitely is kind of uh, like a shocking moment to me where I'm like, "Whoa!" Like the reality that I live in is so unique and is something that I truly feel very grateful for when I'm able to realize it at certain moments.
I think one of the best things, rewatching the show from start to finish is Gina's evolution and her journey. It's really a beautiful one. What did you enjoy most about it? And what was it like to get to see the character open up? Because I feel like if you look at season one, Gina, and then look at season four, there's such a happiness in season four. I was so emotional seeing that. She's so happy and just like getting everything she deserves. What is it like for you portraying that to see that journey?
mm, I, I think my favorite part of playing Gina is the collaboration that it's taken to get from point A to point B where we are now. Tim Federle, our showrunner and creator and executive producer and writer, he's literally everything for the show. He's the rock in the core, but he is also one of the most collaborative people I've ever worked with. And from season two to season four, he always made sure that I was involved in Gina's storyline and what was going on with her arc or her character development and the characters around her. And that as a 16-year-old girl was like, that made me feel so empowered and respected. And that is very rare to feel in this industry, no matter what your gender is or race. Like, it's so hard to just feel respected. And so
Yeah.
the fact that I'm able to get that from my boss and at such an early point in my career, it really, instilled a lot of confidence in me. So I think that's been my favorite part of playing Gina, and seeing that the fact that I can incorporate my desires as a teenage girl into a character that I'm playing.
That's so important. I mean, literally creating a character is one thing, but you have the experience. I'm glad to hear that he utilized that. And really, maybe that's
Yeah,
why she's the way she is a comfort character for everyone because it's real and authentic.
yeah,
That's to find
yeah.
out. I love that. And fun question for you that I always like to ask when a show is ending. What do you think season 4 finale Gina, what advice do you think she would give season 1, episode 1 Gina, if she can look back and give her one piece of advice?
Oh, I think she would say it's okay to be it's okay to be known. I think that was Gina season one biggest fear. Like, she didn't want people to truly know her vulnerabilities and who she was. So she, put on this persona of confidence and intimidation. And we see throughout the series that Gina is truly just like any other teenage girl who has insecurities and doubts, but also has passions and things that excite her and make her giddy and soft. And there's such a, I think, a nice duality to Gina's personality, because she's so strong, but she's also so soft too. And so seeing how she can soften throughout the series was so nice. And by season 4, she's truly become, I think, who she really is, or she's allowed people to know that version of her at least. And yeah, I think season 4 Gina would just let season 1 Gina know that it's all right to be vulnerable.
The one thing I really, really love is that this show just has such diversity, which and it's not focused on. It's not diversity and representation for the sake of representation, which is unfortunately the case with a lot. And I think back to when I was growing up, I'm 23 now, and I think back to the shows I was watching when I was younger, and it would have meant a lot to see these characters on my screen back then. I'm curious for you, what do you think a character like Gina would have meant to a younger Sophia growing up, the age that you were watching High School Musical, or just the age you were growing up? What would that have meant to you?
Mm, yeah, no, that I completely agree with you on that. How representation is so vital, and it subliminally affects children as they grow up, and they see or don't see themselves represented on screen, or they see themselves depicted in a certain way. Psychologically, it affects them so much into their adulthood or their young adulthood. And so for me specifically, I've grown up in an area within Arizona that is not very diverse at all. So I didn't see myself around me physically. But on screens, I would look towards Zendaya or Raven Simone or other actors and actresses that looked like me or looked like family members that I knew. And that I didn't realize at the time of being so young of why I liked them so much, but it was because I was like, they are doing what I want to do. They're successful, or they're the main character in the story, yet they look like me, and that means that I can do that too. So the fact that I can be that for a different generation of girls and boys, I think that brings a different level of importance to what I do. Because at the end of the day, I'm just yeah, I'm just a kid with a big imagination getting to do a job that is basically playing pretend. And that within itself is kind of silly. Like, when you think about it, I think people treat actors as though they're these idols that should be glorified, but like, we're just really imaginative, creative people at the end of the day. So when I think about the fact that I'm also able to bring a level of connection and validation and importance to another human being, then I realized like, okay, there is a level of responsibility and power within this job that I want to use positively as best I can. So that was a very long answer, but I do.
No, I love it. It's funny because when I was younger, that was not a thing. Like representation was really not spoken about, so you never really knew. And then all of a sudden, like one day I looked back on it, I was talking to my friend, I'm like, Selena Gomez was the first time I saw Latina on my screen. Like
Mm,
that's why I like Wizards. Like that was my favorite show, and I still rewatch it, and I'm like, I didn't put the connection together. I'm like,
yeah.
oh, that's a thing. I was like, oh, made a little discovery at like 20 something, like, oh, my younger self was
No,
trying to.
for real. Like I would be watching movies with my family and there'd be a character that looked like my dad. He'd be bald or something and I would go, "Oh, like I really want that character to win or I don't want that character to die." Like I was super invested in that character. And I didn't realize until I got older that that was because that character like my dad. Like the character within itself might have not been like the greatest character in the world, but because they look like my dad, there was a level of connection that just existed within me as a young little girl. And even today, like I was watching The Little Mermaid with Hallie. I was watching it with my boyfriend and I started to cry in the opening number when she was singing Part of Your World or Part of That World because I realized like I never got to see myself depicted as a Disney princess, like outside of Tiana from Princess and the Frog. I was gonna say Kiss the Frog. I'm like that is not the one. Outside of that, I really didn't see myself depicted much until now. They're really diversifying Disney princesses, and I think it's wonderful. But that really meant a lot to me, and I knew it would have meant a lot to my younger self too, seeing this Disney princess that looked like me. And so I'm just so glad that we're moving in that direction where other young little boys and girls are able to see themselves on screen, like you're saying.
You get it. You get it. Someone finally gets it.
Yep, you get it.
But you're doing that. You're doing that for a whole generation. And honestly, it's beautiful. So you're doing it and you're being that change. So but I also have to talk to you, and I know you knew these questions were coming, Ricky and Gina, but I really loved their buildup. I love that it was not immediate. I love that you really got to see the development. And I'm curious for you, how far in advance did you know about that big kiss in the season 3 finale? And how was it seeing everyone's reactions to those Rina moments throughout that season 3, because there were so many every episode. Like you guys were really coming for people, making them cry over you.
Okay, I love this question because I think it is not what anyone ever expects. The whole season for season 3, the cast and I were constantly like, okay, who's going to end up together? Like for all of the characters, because a lot of the characters had multiple love interests. We had Ashlyn with, Maddox and Val, and then also Big Red. And there's just so many connections with each character and who they were supposed to be with towards the end of the season. And so for Gina specifically, like I had no clue whether Gina was going to be alone, whether she was going to end up with EJ, or whether she was going to end up with Ricky. And I think her ending up with Ricky was honestly my last guess because there was
Really?
just too few moments in season 3 that really, led to that conclusion. There were a lot of like those hidden flirtatious moments, but for a lot of it, she was still with EJ. She didn't break up with EJ until I think the episode right before the
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, the camp prom. And so I just was like, that would be too soon. Like, she can't just like jump from one guy to another. Like, I will not allow that to happen because I hate that type of storyline because it's so bad. And so the fact that they had that time jump, then all of a sudden I read the script and I was like, oh shoot, like now that's way more of a possibility. But the last page of the finale of season 3 was blocked out. So when we all did the table read together, none of us knew what the actual last scene was going to be. And we were all so confused. We were like, don't we need to learn the lines for the
No
end
one's
of
getting killed
the
off
season?
the show. So it's like, what's the big secret? This is like Grey's
Exactly.
Anatomy. No one's getting killed off. What's
Yeah,
going
no,
on?
but we thought we were like, oh my gosh, someone's gonna die. Like it must be some big thing. And then like the night before our last day, Tim created a group chat with Josh and I, and he sent us the sides, and it was basically just this whole page of a monologue for me. And I was like, "Oh, you want me to do this tomorrow? You really want me to do this tomorrow? Great!" And so I had to learn it. Like I basically just had to get it in my brain as fast as possible. But it was all very big shock, and we weren't allowed. Josh and I were not allowed to tell the rest of the cast. Most of the crew didn't even know what it was, so it was super, exclusive, and it felt like I was on like a Marvel movie because of how like important it was. But yeah, it definitely was a big shock and surprise to, I think, everybody, Josh and I included. And from that point, I didn't really know what was going to happen in season 4, whether that storyline was going to continue or whether there was going to be another time jump. Um, so it was all kind of up in arms, but it was very shocking and surprising.
And all right, I'm gonna let you say whatever you want now. Say all your season 4 spoilers. We're getting into the season 4 questions. Okay. Such a big and full circle moment for Gina to not only get the lead as Gabriella in the musical, but then the musical 4 movie. What
Mm-hmm.
was your reaction to know that she was going to get this sort of focus and spotlight? Because I was really thrilled as a fan.
Yeah. Um, I was really excited. I mean, it's definitely like, what's the right word? There can be a level of like pressure when you go from being more of a supporting character to then a leading character. And I really wanted to do my best for the show as a whole and for Gina as well. So, getting a lot more screen time in season 4 was a little bit intimidating, and also not being a minor anymore and not having the work hours that, restricted my time on set. It definitely was like it was a very hard season, just physically and
Yeah.
emotionally, because I was giving so much more than I have in past seasons. Um, but I was really excited to see like the fact that I not only got to play Gina, but I also got to play Gabriella, and I also got to play Bailey.
Yeah.
There's 3 characters that I'm playing in basically every episode, and so it felt as though I was constantly doing like a different show every day because I didn't know, necessarily who I was going to be until I saw the sides for the next day, and then they start putting hair and makeup on me that makes me look like that specific character. And so it was really I guess stretching as an actor because I was not having to stay in one mindset. I was always having to flip back and forth.
And are you satisfied with where you leave her for now? I always say that because despite it being the final season, I'm hoping maybe, are you open to revisiting her in the future, for who knows? People do reunions, reboots, everything. Are you
Mm-hmm.
satisfied with where you get to leave Gina right now? And then are you open to doing something in the future with her?
Yeah, no, I feel fully satisfied with Gina's journey. And even though it's so bittersweet that it has to end, I as well would be super open to revisiting it in the future whenever that would be, because I love this show and I love the cast and I love this character, and just everything a part of this whole experience has been so beautiful. So I'd love to go back to it, but also there's an element of me that's like, this was perfect, and you don't want to, fix something that isn't broken.
Yeah.
And so I almost want to maintain these 4 seasons in a time capsule and leave it untouched, because I feel like if we tried to go back for a 5th season or reunion, we would be messing with something that was truly just like a miracle blessing. So
Yeah.
I think I'm very open right now, but I do feel very satisfied with it, where everything ended up.
That's That's all that's important, honestly, to me, is when you're ending a chapter like this to be satisfied with where you leave your character.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this incredible sequence in the first episode of the season where you're singing Gina and Ricky's song in the bedroom, and you get to really have those big relationship moments, like the montage of the past relationship moments. Can you tell me about filming that? Because it came out, I had to rewatch it. This is amazing. It was so good.
Yes, no, you like brought that back to my mind because honestly, the whole season is like a blur for me. Like I can't remember like the specifics of the episode because it was
Yeah.
all just so much and we block shoot and go back and forth. But that was probably one of my favorite performances because of the fact that we got to go back in time and revisit truly not only who our characters were, but who we were when we were filming it. I remember every time Josh and I would get out of hair and makeup as we were going back to one of the flashbacks, we would look at each other and we'd be like, ah! Like it freaked us both out because like I saw the little highlights in his hair and the outfits and like
Oh,
I
yeah.
could remember exactly like what we talked about on that day that we were actually filming it 3 years ago and how I felt, and it almost like gave me a little bit of anxiety almost because I remembered what it was like to be a 15-year-old girl, and I was like I don't want to experience that again because there was so much doubt and insecurity and in my like imposter syndrome for me in the first season. So it was like also on a more positive note, like a really good reminder of how far I've come from that person I used to be in season one. And just as a whole for the show, it was just really cool to see how far the characters have come together and how there was always those little Easter eggs before anyone really knew it, before they were ever really a thing. There was those moments that then led to where they were today.
Are you happy with Gina's romantic ending? Hoping she ends up with Ricky, but you can tell me otherwise and break my heart. It's totally good. But are you personally happy with where she ends up romantically?
Yes, I am. I where Gina leaves off, I think, okay, Gina finally gets her happy ending. And even though it's truly not an ending for them, they're past season four, Gina would be going into her senior year and Ricky would be going off to college. We don't know what would happen then, but where they leave off at the end of the season, where Ricky and Gina are still together and they've worked through certain hurdles and, been able to really find their balance as a couple. I think that's what any teenage girl would want, even though there is always something that's coming that you don't really know what the future holds when you're young like that, or really any age. I think it's still nice to be able to have hope for that future. And I think I would have felt really sad if Gina was like, you know what, Ricky, I gotta let you go for college, or if she ended up like getting with another character, that would just like break my heart. So I think I think most of the fans will be really satisfied, especially the Rinas out there will be very satisfied. But there can be the sweetest peach, and there's still someone who doesn't like peaches. So I'm just hoping that everyone can be satisfied with whatever whatever ship they end up loving.
Can I have the stance? Amazing, amazing performance in the rehearsal room. You and Joshua just, oh my gosh. Okay. I love singing my heart out to the original films. I can't imagine you actually getting to sing your heart out on set and knowing you're gonna recreate the music. Does that hit you on set when you're singing these iconic songs? I mean, your version was amazing. We will be getting the soundtrack and having it on repeat. But what is that feeling like for you?
Yeah, it was so cool. That was a song that both Josh and I really, really wanted to do, especially in this season. It's one of our favorites from the whole entire franchise. And so when we both got the little voice file that we were going to do it, or the demo, we were both so excited. And then it came out, I think, really wonderfully. It's always a little scary, like doing an original song or recreating something that is already so loved. But I think we were able to do it in a way that feels true to us as artists and as actors and musicians, but then also like still giving a wink to the original and not going too far off. So it was really cool to do it, and also like getting to perform. It was so fun. We really didn't have a lot of rehearsal time at all. We had like
Out? Are you kidding?
we had one rehearsal like the day or two before, and then it was super different on the actual day because we had to block it out in the rehearsal room, which is so much smaller than the actual space you're rehearsing in. So it was very challenging, but I think it came out wonderfully, and I haven't seen the full product yet, but I'm so excited
Amazing.
because I loved it.
Oh, you're gonna be again, that was another scene I watched on repeat, but we won't get into that. Sophia, I will let you go. Thank you so much for your time. I truly, truly appreciate it. Congrats on this part of your journey. I can't wait to see what you do next. I hope we get to speak again.
Thank you so much. And yeah, your questions were wonderful. And you're also like such a good listener. Whenever I would look up while I was answering, you just had like the most intentional, thoughtful face. And so it really means a lot when I feel as though I'm actually being listened to when we do these things. So thank you.
You're very, very genuine in all your responses. I
Mm,
appreciate that too. This was a great discussion. It felt like a conversation. So
yes,
thank
yes.
you. I really do appreciate it.
Boys, professional artists and professors. Maybe a nerd who's just like you, talking about the things that you like too. So I invite you to the NOC. In full color, you see me. The hard knock life. Comics, movies,